Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everyone from around the world who is joining us at the illustrious Kentucky State University as we celebrate Women's History Month. I am Dr. Takia Anthony, and I serve as the interim dean of the Whitney Young Honors Collegium. We will proceed with the assembly as printed in the program. So please welcome to the stage Dr. Stacia Emanuel, Associate Professor of Education, for the summons to the assembly. Dr. Emanuel.
Good morning. Good morning. Yes. And welcome to Kentucky State University's Women's History Month Assembly. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 31, verses 10, 20, 25, 26, and 29, hear thusly: Who can find a virtuous woman? For her worth is far above rubies. She extends her hand to the poor. Yes, she reaches out her hand to the needy. Strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and her tongue is the law of kindness. Many daughters have done well, but you excel them all. Each of these verses speaks to the strength, the honor, the wisdom, the kindness, and the benevolence of a woman. Based on these descriptors and attributes, ladies, we are some very, very powerful beings. We are the ones that God, Him very self, has empowered to give life. Ladies, just think about it for just a moment. The next generation lies within us. We are the ones that give life. Life to heal in the sick room, Dr. Dorothy Lavina Brown in 1949. Life to defend in the courtroom, Charlotte E. Ray, 1872. Life to sit on the Supreme Court, Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, 1981. Life to lead students as the first Black university president, Dr. Willa Beatrice Player, 1955. Life to soar over the land of the free and the home of the brave, Amelia Earhart, 1927. Life to fight flames, smoke, and burning structures, Molly Williams in 1815. And life was given to each of you not to sit in the seat of complacency, but to drive the wheels off of racial injustice, social injustice, sexual harassment, human trafficking, and gender-based violence and discrimination. Ladies, we are being honored today, but let's not forget the facts. The facts of us being treated unfairly and being put on the shelf of inequality was not that long ago. But now it's our time to show the world that we live and the life we give is more precious than gold, more valuable than rubies, and definitely shines brighter than any diamond. So let us acknowledge every man in this room for recognizing our worth, for spending quality time with their grandmother, their mother, their aunt, as it is only when you spend time with a woman that you can truly appreciate a woman. Ladies of Kentucky State University, we owe a debt of gratitude to those who changed the game and to those who eliminated the rules. And it is this day that we say thank you. Our Women's History Month Assembly will now commence.
Can we please give another round of applause to Dr. Emanuel? Thank you for setting the tone for today. If you are able, can you please stand and also remove your hats for the singing of the Negro National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. It will be led by Dr. McCutcheon.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound high as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun as our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
You may be seated. Thank you, Dr. McCutcheon. Next, we will have our reigning Mr. and Miss Kentucky State University to bring greetings, followed by a poem entitled Black Girl by Kiana Fields. Mr. and Miss Kentucky State University.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Women's 2023 Heritage Assembly. I am MIANA Wallace, and not only do I have the privilege but the honor to serve as your 93rd Miss Kentucky State University.
And I am URIAS Kelly, and I have the honor and privilege to serve as your 29th Miss Kentucky State University.
We would like to give a special greetings to the Board of Regents, administration, faculty, staff, student body, and guests.
If there are any members of the Board of Regents, please stand to be recognized. If there are any elected officials, please stand to be recognized. If there are any members of the clergy, please stand to be recognized.
Women are the cornerstone of our community, and Women's History Month is our time to highlight the contributions women have made in history that impact our world.
Kentucky State University thanks all the women who have contributed to the university from the past into the future, enabling our futures of a Kentucky State University.
Happy Women's History Month, and welcome to the 2023 Women's History Month Assembly.
Let me take this break.
Good morning. My name is Kiana Fields, and I am going to be performing a poem called I Am a Black Girl. I am a black girl, born in a place where status is determined by race and freedom isn't so free. I am a black girl, made up of honey and sun, yet somehow when the day is done, I am looked at as less than normal. I mean, curves could form words of their own, yet in this everyday battle, I feel alone. I am a black girl who isn't allowed to feel this way, whose brothers and sisters get taken every day, and when it comes to justice in the courts, no one has anything to say. I am a black girl who just wants to breathe. I am underwater screaming, and none of you can hear me. But if you could, would something change? Because I understand you determine my reality before even knowing my name. My bad days are just plain attitudes, and oh, I must have come from the hood. My father's probably absent. I just have to be misunderstood. But every day I remain a black girl, made up of honey and sun, and when the day is done, I am beautiful. I am a black girl whose place does not define me, nor does your reality of me. I am a black girl whose feelings are valid, whose life is valid. Thank you.
Can we please give one more round of applause? That is Miss Kiana Fields. She is a junior psychology major and a member of the Whitney Young Honors Collegium. Next, we will have the Vice President for Student Government Association, Miss AMARI Stowers, to introduce our speaker, followed by our keynote. Miss Stowers.
Good morning, everyone. If the face looks familiar or the name rings a bell, it's probably because today's speaker is no stranger to Kentucky State. Back in October, Karen M.R. Townsend, PhD, delivered the keynote address during our homecoming convocation. Her message, "Are You the One?" challenged us all to reflect on the roles and responsibilities we have to live up to the legacy of our founders. Today, Dr. Karen is back to help us acknowledge, affirm, and celebrate the role that women play in the world, our community, and our beloved KSU. Dr. Karen is president and CEO of KTownsend Consulting, an award-winning organizational development firm that is committed to helping leaders create inclusive environments and build high-performing teams. A certified diversity educator, thought leader, and subject matter expert, she has written a number of articles on diversity and inclusion that have been featured in local, regional, and national publications. Dr. Karen serves on the board of directors for the Miami Valley Fair Housing Center, the Boys and Girls Club of Dayton, and the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce. She also lends her expertise as an advisor to the Dayton Daily News, the Dayton Business Journal, and most recently, she was selected by the United States Department of Defense to serve as a member of the inaugural Civic Leaders Council. In this capacity, Dr. Karen acts as a liaison between the public sector and senior leaders of the United States Air and Space Force. Although she is a highly successful business owner, a best-selling author, and an active volunteer in her community, Dr. Karen says what is most relevant for today's program is the work she does to support women and girls. As the founder of About My Sisters, she leads a team that is on a mission to empower 1 million women and girls. Since 1993, she has hosted the annual Sister to Sister Conference, which this year will hold its 30th anniversary and is recognized as one of the longest-running women's events in the United States. Dr. Karen has shared her message of women empowerment in the Bahamas, the Dominican Republic, as a featured guest on an international panel in Johannesburg, South Africa, and as a part of Oprah Winfrey's Live the Life You Want masterclass. While Dr. Karen was honored to speak with Oprah, she is proud to be invited back to speak at her alma mater. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Karen Townsend.
I once heard somebody say that it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. So I'm about to do something that I'm probably going to get in trouble for, but I'll suffer the consequences. I live in Ohio, which is the home of LeBron James. And one of the things I noticed is whenever LeBron takes the court, before he goes out there, like he puts some white powder or something in his hands. Have you all seen that? And he throws it up in the air for good luck. So since this is Women's History Month, I was thinking I want to celebrate Black Girl Magic. When I shared with my husband that I'd been invited to be the speaker for today's program, I was really, really excited. He, on the other hand, said, "They just had you there in October. What more do they want you to say?" If you all remember, he graduated from Central State, so I think that was some haterade, so I just completely dismissed that. I didn't think a whole lot about what he said in regards to what more do you want me to say, but I thought about what more is there for me to say. I mean, when I think back on October, that homecoming speech, if I do say so myself, it was kind of fire. And if you haven't seen it, it is available on YouTube. Honestly, when I was here in October, I gave what I believe was one of the best speeches of my entire life. So how do you follow up from that? In the music industry, there's a term called one-hit wonders. And that means somebody comes out with a hit song and everybody buys the album and it's #1 on the charts and the album goes platinum. But then people come back with the second and it's not so good. Well, I don't want to be a one-hit wonder, but I have been challenged to think about how do I top my best? How can I or you or anyone meet a heightened level of expectation? And what happens if you can't or you don't? The overarching theme for the university is enabling our intended future. Those 4 words, that simple yet profound charge, means that neither you nor I can ever rest on our laurels. I am reminded of a song that means a whole lot to me, and one of the lines in the song says, "Greater laurels to win, greater tasks to begin." Some folks know where that comes from. Those things that we have accomplished in the past, our achievements, our successes, our wins, even a great speech, when they are in the past, they're in the past. So the question is, how do we pay homage to those who came before us while at the same time being future-focused, enabling an intended future? Well, I submit to you that as we come together today to acknowledge, affirm, and celebrate Women's History Month, we can, in fact, do both. And how do we do it? By honoring our past and empowering our future. Good morning, Thoroughbreds. To all of you who are in the room and others who are joining us virtually, I want to say thank you. Thank you to President Johnson for inviting me back home. Thank you for Dr. Anthony for putting this program together, to AMARI for introducing me, to all the amazing students in the Whitney Young program, to Stacia Edwards, who, when I sent her a text message and said, please bring me some lotion because my legs are ashy, she did that for me. That's one of the great things about going to a HBCU. I also have to thank my friend for almost 40 years, Shannon Mason, for being here with me, and my uncle who surprised me. And to every one of you, I need you to know that whether my husband understands it or not, I am honored to be back on this stage on this day for this purpose. When AMARI introduced me, she shared that I do a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion work. But in addition to that, I am on a mission to empower 1 million women and girls. And occasions such as this allow me to walk in that purpose and hopefully positively impact a few lives along the way. I need to let you know, in the spirit of truth and transparency, before I leave today, I am going to count every woman in this room because I want you to be among that number. As of today, you are officially 1 in a million. And I want to pause for a moment, and I want to honor all the women who are in the room. And I'm going to ask you all to stand up. Stand up. And I want you to look around. Look beside you, look behind you. Look at all the beautiful, amazing, intelligent, educated women. And for the brothers in the room, ladies, you may sit down. I'm going to ask all the men in the room to stand up because these women deserve a standing ovation. So acknowledge the women in the room. Honoring our past and empowering our future. This is the theme that I selected because I think it acknowledges the challenges and obstacles that women have faced throughout history. Things like being denied the right to vote until 1920, or 1965 if you were a black woman, or doing equal work for unequal pay. And even though the wage gap is closing, women still only make 82 cents for every dollar earned by a man. And if you're a Black woman or a Latina woman, that number is even less. Women, specifically women of color, continue to experience desperate treatment when it comes to their health care. This results in poor outcomes during pregnancy and childbirth, as well as when we're being treated for chronic diseases and injuries. And if I can pause for a moment, I want to tell you some disparate treatment I received. About a year and a half ago, my husband and I went to see Earth, Wind, and Fire. And we were really excited because we had not been out since COVID. And we went to see the concert, and I'm telling you, Earth, Wind, and Fire was rocking out. And I told my husband, they are old, but they are still rocking out. So at one point, Philip Bailey said, jump, jump. And I jumped. And when I came down, it was like, uh-oh. I was in so much pain. So the next day, I was in ER, and they sent me home. And then I went to see my doctor, and she sent me home. I was in so much pain. How many of you all have heard that women and people of color are often dismissed when they say they're in pain? For 5 weeks, I stumbled around in excruciating pain. Only after I demanded an MRI was I informed that I had fractured my tibia. So for 5 weeks, I walked around with a broken leg because I wasn't heard. This is what happens to women. We aren't believed, we aren't supported. Although India Irie sang this song a long time ago, I Am Not My Hair, as recent as yesterday at the state capitol just down the road, women marched to encourage legislators to pass the Crown Act. And this is an act that just says, let me wear my hair the way it grows out of my head. Don't discriminate against me because of that. These are things that are a part of, hopefully, will be our past sooner rather than later. Honoring our past and empowering our future. This theme also highlights the strength, the courage, and the determination that women demonstrate each and every day to overcome adversity and create positive change. A few examples. In the field of science, in early 2020, in the midst of a global pandemic, a doctor by the name of Kiesmika Colbert led a team of scientists to develop a highly effective vaccine against COVID-19. A lot of us don't even know her name. This vaccine was developed and delivered and authorized in under a year. Now, you may remember that many people, including me, questioned the safety of the vaccine because it was delivered so quickly. But what most of us did not know is that Dr. Colbert had been doing research for 5 years at the Institute of Health long before we even knew anything about COVID. But that's not in the history book. In the field of justice, in 2022, Ketanji Brown Jackson became the first Black woman to ever serve and be sworn in to the United States Supreme Court after 232 years. And finally, in the field of politics, on January 20th, 2021, Kamala Harris became the first the first woman to serve as Vice President of the United States. These are examples of our empowered future. Women's History Month is an opportunity to recognize the achievements and contributions of women from all walks of life and from diverse backgrounds, while also inspiring future generations to continue the legacy of resilience and progress. Within the walls of this auditorium, and I'm sure watching us via Zoom, we have evidence of our past and our present. And all the students, the female students in this room, you are a preview of our future. We have women, faculty and staff and administrators who work tirelessly to support the growth and development of KSU students each and every day. Women whose names may have never been written in a history book. When you think about some of the most influential women in history, names like Harriet Tubman and Rosa Parks and Michelle Obama and Kamala Harris, these names come to mind. But when was the last time you ever heard the names of women like Winnie A. Scott? Does anybody know who she is? Winnie Scott was a member of the first graduating class of Kentucky State in 1890. And after she finished her degree, she started a hospital for African Americans right here in Frankfurt. How about Georgia Davis Powers? Do you all know who she is? I see one hand. In 1967, she was the first African American and first woman to be elected to the Kentucky Senate. During her 21 years of service, she was regarded as an advocate for Black people, women, children, the poor, and people with disabilities. Now, I know somebody has to know this name, Mary Levi Smith. Dr. Smith served as the 11th president of Kentucky State University from 1991 to 1998. She was the first female president of Kentucky State and only the second woman to lead a university in the state of Kentucky. And then add to that list women on this campus today who have influenced the university, the community, and maybe even you. There are so many unsung sheroes whose names we don't even know, women who are worthy of recognition. You know what? One of those women might be you. So I'm going to invite you to say your name. Say your name right now for being a shero. I can't hear you. All right, all right. Because yesterday was the first day of Women's History Month, I challenged the people in my social media community to give a shout out to influential women in their lives. And since I was the person who issued the challenge, I felt I needed to start by sharing a name. I feel blessed that over the course of my life and my career, I've had the opportunity to rub shoulders with some pretty amazing women. I've shared space with Maya Angelou. I attended a VIP reception with Iyanla Vanzant. Oprah picked me to be a part of her life class, and Michelle Obama even has a signed copy of my book. But when it comes to the most influential woman in my life, that woman is Lucy Reynolds, my mama. My mother was not a woman of means, but what she represented was a woman who had high expectations for her daughters. And guess what? Because of that high level of expectation, my sister and I work every day to make Miss Lucy proud. So to the elder women in the room, and I count myself in that number, what expectations have you set for our younger sisters? You see, nobody rises to low expectations. If we want the next generation of KSU women to exemplify excellence, then we, the elders, have to communicate our expectations. We have to compassionately, did I say compassionately? We have to compassionately offer them guidance, and we have to model appropriate behavior. Our younger sisters are watching us, so we need to make sure that what we reflect back is our very best. Honoring our past and empowering our future. AMARI Sen says, empowering women is the key to building the future we want. And Miss Lucy, my mama, she used to always say, I'm not raising girls of today, I'm raising women of tomorrow. As the mother of two daughters, I feel as though I have a daily responsibility to empower them. Saran and Kaylin represent number 1 and number 2 in my effort to empower 1 million women and girls. As young women, ages 28 and 24, they represent the future, as do the women students assembled here today. One of the challenges I face as a mother is figuring out the right way to connect with my daughters. As mothers and as adult women, we often want to fix the problems. We want to tell young women what to do and how to do it. And I can tell you, I've been guilty of telling my girls why their way isn't the right way, like it's my way or the highway. That's not the way to connect. In far too many cases, women my age, and I'm in Club 60 now, we sit in judgment of what our young women do without ever engaging with them or exploring what's important to them. And we better be honest. A lot of us elder women suffer from selective amnesia. We've forgotten that we used to kick it on the weekends in the student union. Sometimes we get foggy about the fact that we used to wear Daisy Dukes when we were in our 20s. And lest we forget all the times we would turn down the music because we didn't want our parents to hear what we were listening to. Like that right there. A couple of weeks ago, I got challenged on that very thing. I don't know where I've been, but just 2 weeks ago, I finally heard the unedited, non-radio version of Cuff It by Beyonce. I was like, clutch the pearls. And I went into this tirade with my daughters, and I was like, Beyonce is entirely too smart, and she's too beautiful. She's got so much going on. Why does she have to use that dirty words? And my daughter looked at me and said, Mommy, for real? Like you who say you are Prince's #1 fan? Did you forget he is the reason that there is an explicit sign and parent advisory on music? So I got busted. My history and my past came back to haunt me because I have empowered my daughters, and because of that, they speak. So if there's anything I want you to take away from this talk this morning, it's this. When we honor our past, we can do it by empowering the current generation of young women with permission. Permission to be, permission to do, and permission to speak. Time is out for us to sit in the seat of judgment as it relates to our younger sisters. Instead, we need to create safe spaces for them to connect with us. We need to invite them to share their hopes and their dreams and their fears and their concerns, because far too many of them look at us and they think we got it all together. And I'm here to tell you, I don't have it all together. Sometimes I ask women, where do you cry? Because you can't cry when you're standing on the stage. But sometimes we cry in our cars. Sometimes we cry in the shower, because if you're wet, people can't tell it's tears. But we need to be open and honest with the younger sisters. On behalf of all the elder women in the room, I want to say to my younger sisters, we really do want to be here for you. But we need you to tell us how. Honoring our past and empowering our future. How can we honor you today? How can we empower you to be the women you strive to be in the future? That's your assignment, young sisters. Like, for real, for real. I want you to take a moment, and I want you to think about that. And if you have some paper and something to write with, I want you to write it down. Or if you have your phone, pull it out and write some notes. And I also want to challenge the elders in the room to think about how we can meet them where they are. So this is a for real assignment. DJ, will you give us some thinking music? So I want you all to take about 90 seconds just to think about, if you are a young sister, how can we support you? If you are an elder sister, how can we meet them where they are? And I'm going to call on a few of you to share, because when we come together as community, we have all the answers. So I want to ask, is there a brave sister who will share something? Yes. I think there's some people with, does someone have a mic for her? Come up here, sis.
Testing.
We want the people in the virtual world to see you. Tell me your name.
Kennedy Maddox.
Kennedy gonna come on up on the stage. All right, sis. Give her a hand. So you look out there so they can see you. What did you write down? What can we do to support you?
Yes, ma'am. I would say to just be there for us emotionally.
Be available emotionally?
Emotionally available, yes. Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much. We're living in a time when people are dealing with so much emotional and mental stress. And it takes a brave person to say, hey, I need some help with that. So thank you so much. Somebody else, what can we do to support you? All right. Yeah, you got to come up here so we can see you, sis. It's women's history. You're my future.
I'll come up there.
You all didn't know it's going to be audience participation, huh?
No, I didn't hear that in the caption section.
Tell us your name and where you're from and what your major is.
Oh, okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Anaya Chambers. I'm a junior political science scholar from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. How can adult women support me as a young woman? I said, adult women can support me by being a mentor and setting the expectations and standard, while holding me accountable, but also being transparent about what it's like truly growing and going through life.
All right, thank you so much. So I heard I need a mentor. And I recently read, help me out, President Johnson, that the university received some funding from VentureWell to start a mentoring program, which is awesome. But we shouldn't have to rely on funding from others to do what we know we can do, and we can mentor the young women. I also heard we need to kind of tell our truth. So often our young sisters look at us and they see the finished product. I am Dr. Karen Townsend. I got a pretty cool life. I own my own business. I'm a published author. I get to travel the world doing the work that I love. But I started off as a poor black girl living in the projects, being raised by a single mom on welfare. That's part of my story. And we need to be open and honest, truthful and transparent so our young sisters know what's possible. One more. One more. Yes, ma'am. Give her a hand for her bravery, for her courage.
Can y'all hear me on this? Okay. Hey y'all, I'm Aaliyah Yates. I'm a Whitney Young Honors College scholar. I'm a political science major and I'm from Lexington, Kentucky. I just wanted to say that I feel like as women, we're very caring and we're just caring by nature. And so having somebody that just sits there and listens and hears you out will really go a long way for us young women.
All right. Thank you, Aaliyah. So these are the words of our young sisters. And what I didn't see was the older ladies, the elder women, the ones with the wisdom saying, this is what I will do. Even if you didn't come up here, even if you didn't stand, I want to challenge you to meet our young sisters where they are. A wise woman once said, empowered women empower women. Empowered women empower women. These young women just gave us an assignment. The question is, will you accept it? I told you that I'm on a personal mission to empower 1 million women and girls. And while it sounds like an overwhelming task, and it really is, I believe if I can empower one woman, and she empowers another, and she empowers another, then together we can impact all the women of the world. Or at the very least, the women of Kentucky State University. My hope is that each of you will commit to honoring our past and empowering our future by impacting the lives of a young woman in your life. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Can we please give Dr. Townsend another round of applause? Thank you. Such an inspirational message. If we can have Dr. Townsend to come back to the stage, as well as President Johnson, we definitely have a token of our appreciation. Dr. Townsend, on behalf of Kentucky State University and President Johnson, we want to thank you so much for sharing your words of wisdom with us during Women's History Month. Can we all please give another round of applause? Also, in the spirit of gratitude, I would also like to thank the Office of the President, Ms. Amy Olds, Ms. Longstreet, Ms. Sonia Sanders, the Office of the Provost, as well as Dr. Stamps in her office and brand identity, Dr. Dixie in her office with IT, Mr. Tony Weathers, Ms. Karen Brown, Ms. Deanna Brown, and please give a round of applause for the honor students who are serving as ushers today. If we can all please stand to receive our illustrious president for our closing remarks, Dr. Ronald Johnson. Thank you.
I believe it's still morning, but thank you all. I want to begin by saying that Dr. Townsend, that was a magnificent message and delivery. And I'd like for you to stand, as you are doing now, and just show your appreciation to Dr. Townsend, who is a cherished alumna. Thank you all. Please be seated. I will be brief. I want to thank Dr. Anthony and the faculty, staff, and students who are responsible for putting this program together. As you may know, putting programs together takes a talent, it takes a lot of time and energy and really love. And they've done that today, as they did for the Black History Month celebration. So I just want to thank Dr. Anthony and the team for their continued great deeds for all of us. Well, when we think about Women's History Month, let's pause and let's think, 10 to 20 years from now, how will you be celebrating Women's History Month? Think about that. Just close your eyes for a moment and just think. Now, as you open your eyes, answer this question. Are you doing that now? Are you actually doing what you just thought about 10 to 20 years from now? Are you doing that now? If you are, then you know that the work is not complete, because you should be adding other things to do. If you aren't, then the question is, when will you start to prepare? When will you start to get ready to do this? Women's History Month, just like African American History Month, is a call to action. The action is to be in service. To be in service to who? To be in service to yourself, to your family, to your community, to be in service in support of the continuing recognition of the importance of Women's History Month. To be able to contribute to the recognition by just making it part of your life pledge to not only show up on Women's History Month, but also to consider it every day of the year. To understand the contributions that women have made to the success of the society, to our own personal success. As I tell people, I didn't birth myself, okay? I didn't, okay? That's just the start of recognizing the power of women. We have to understand that women have contributed to the social, economic advancement of the society, and again, of each of us. I want you just to think about it as you leave this assembly. Think about how you will celebrate Women's History Month 10 to 20 years from now, and then begin the process of doing so today. You started because you came to this assembly, and that's the first step. But now what we want you to be is not just passive, but actually active. Think of how you can actually do this. You can actually form groups where you read literature that's written by women. You can form groups or get with your family to go to museums to see the work that women have done. You could actually look at what women are doing currently in the legislature, in business, in social impact entities. You can actually make those contributions, and most importantly, you, especially for the women in this audience, should see yourself in those roles. Dr. Townsend is a cherished alumna. She came here and she actually was the Founders Day orator. She did gave a rousing presentation because of who she is and how she came to be the person that she is through her experiences at this institution and beyond. But one of the things that she has done is that she has committed herself to be in service also to herself, but also to you, people that she has never even met. And so I ask you to do the same thing. We had a representation of someone who's actually doing exactly what I've just shared with you that I asked you to do. It'll make you a more well-rounded person. It'll actually capture the contributions to the legacies of the future that you will be producing long after I'm gone. And you'll be able to get to a point where you can say, a job well done, and I'm proud to have done it. I want to thank you again for coming out today, for enjoying and understanding the importance of women's history, and of course, supporting our wonderful orator for today. And thank you all again.
Thank you, President Johnson. If we can all stand for the alma mater led by Dr. McCutcheon. Thank you.
Hail to our alma mater, dear is her name, and there shall be no other to surpass her fame. Hers is the hand that guides us day after day, and she will stand beside us when we go on our way. May blessings be upon her, shepherd of youth. She holds the seat of honor in the hall of truth. Memories of her shall never fade from our hearts, and we will praise her ever for the love she imparts.